Hey there, it's Drutter. Today is January the 22nd, 2014, and I wish the title was a joke or even an exaggeration, but it's not. If you're here for analysis, news, charts, or my other usual stuff, sorry, this won't interest you. And if any of this sounds scripted, that's only because I had to make some notes so that I hit all the important points. I'm going to start off with some words from a hero of mine, and I don't use that word very often at all. Disl Automatic, an incredibly talented and principled raptivist. I don't do this for the money, and I don't do this for the credit, but if I deserve it, then maybe I should get it. I don't want money for me, but it does take money to get things done. And as much as I'd love the world to work another way, and you know I would, that's not how it is, at least not yet. And I have been getting things done, but my savings are exhausted. I've given it all I've got, and I've come up against this evil status quo that has to change, and I've positively impacted hundreds of thousands of people's lives. I'm proud of myself, even if my friends and family have all but deserted me. I wouldn't do it any differently if I could go back in time and do it again. And I feel like I've got another 30 years in me, if that's what it would take. But my tube is coming up empty, if you know what I mean. The system wants me to produce a whole bunch of these, or I can't see my kids anymore. Or maybe I'll go into one of its prisons. Maybe both. No, I'm not joking. This really is what it has come to right now. I'm toast if I don't find a really big stack of these things right away. And that's disgusting to me. I hate it, but it's not something that I can change. That's how it is. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter if I've informed, entertained, motivated, and educated people, served up 1.6 million video views. It doesn't matter if I've worked more than full-time at this for several years and given up just about everything else. It doesn't matter if I've changed the world, at least in a small way, for the better. And I know I have added value, but none of that gets me any of those $20 bills. You want to know how many times in the past 6 years somebody's contacted me, unsolicited, and said, "Hey, I've got $20 I don't need. Would you be able to use it?" None. What about, "I have some time or some expertise or some equipment. Would it be useful to you? Can I put it toward the cause?" Never. I'm not trying to bitch and whine here. I'm just explaining to you why I have to go. I don't want to. In many ways, I'm happier and more purposed than I've ever been before in my life. This is probably the second most important thing I've ever done for the world, right after being a father to 2 amazing children. I've just got nothing left. No savings, no support. I feel very vulnerable. I don't even have health care anymore. Everybody thinks you get free health care in Canada, but what they don't know is if you're poor, you have to pay for it by giving up your privacy and freedom to the system, or you're on your own. So I'm on my own. I certainly try and keep myself healthy, but how long until I do get sick or injured? Traitor, scam artist, liar, beggar, communist, shill. Labels given to me at the end of 2012 when I put out a hat and asked if anyone wanted to contribute to the channel and to the cause. I'm thankful for it, but do you know what it resulted in? A few $100s. I received less than $100 a year for doing this. It doesn't even cover the cost of the electricity used, let alone any of the other costs. Which reminds me of something else quite a few people said in 2012. It doesn't cost anything to do what you do. So let me tell you about a few of the costs I paid in 2012. I can tell you about 3 of the 4 major ones, but I'm going to hold back on the 4th for now. Keep in mind, I've never had a criminal record, no contact with law enforcement. But that definitely changed in 2012, big time. I was living with my girlfriend in a rented basement suite. She was working on her degree at college. I was operating my online business to pay the bills, while being a father a few evenings a week and running this channel. I'd recently become more critical of the system, including the government and its minions. The more I knew it had to be changed. Upon returning home from an evening with my kids, I found my girlfriend in tears. Of course, I asked her what was wrong, and her story was fairly disturbing to me. She said that she had gone out for a walk with her cell phone in her pocket as usual, and while she was out away from the house, quite a distance away from the house in fact, she got a call from 911, or at least the local police department, and she picked up, and they said, "You have called us, and we are now coming to your location. Where are you?" And she said, "No, I didn't call you." And they said, "Well, you must have, because we got a call from you." And she said, "No, I'm fine. I didn't call you." And they said, "Well, your phone must have activated accidentally and called us. So by law, we have to come there and look through your house." And she said, "I'm not at a house. I'm just walking down the street." And they said, "Tell us what address you're at. We're coming." She said, "Forget it. I don't need any help. Don't come." And she, said goodbye and went home. And when she got home, the cops showed up at the house. And at the door, they said, "Since you didn't tell us where that call came from, we triangulated it from where that call was made, and that's why we came here." And she said, "I know you're lying, because when that call supposedly was made, I wasn't here. I was about a kilometer away from here." And they didn't explain how they had found the house or how they knew where to come, because her phone had been disconnected. She'd taken the battery out before she went back to the house. So I don't know how they got the address, but anyway. There was these two large men standing in the doorway, with guns, with pepper spray, with clubs, with radios, with armor, everything. And my girlfriend is very small, and they were towering over her, and they said, "Let us into your house, we're going to check it." And she said, "No, I'm fine. I'm not letting you in." And they said, "You have to let us in by law." And she did the right thing, and she said, "Then why are you asking for my permission?" And, of course they had no answer for that. And then they said, "So what, are you a student or something? Because if you are, if you go to jail tonight, they will kick you out of your college, and you won't go back." And she still didn't let them in the house. She said, "Fine, then arrest me. If you can arrest me, you would. You would be already arresting me." So they said, "What we're going to do is we're going to throw you in jail. Let us into the house." And unfortunately, she did let them into the house. And she, of course, has learned her mistake since then. But I mean, what would you do? What would you do if there's these two large men standing above you like that, saying that they are going to come in no matter what? It's easier said than done. And I don't think it's her fault at all. Anyhow, they came into the house, they searched through the house, and she said, "What are you searching for?" They were looking in closets and drawers, and they said, "We're looking for a grow-op." And she said, "Why would you be looking for a grow-op?" And they said, "Because you called 911 from your phone." And she said, "No, I didn't. I didn't call you. I didn't want you here. I don't want you here." Anyhow, they didn't find anything, of course. And they left, and shortly after I came home. A couple of months later, the owner of the house that I rented the basement in sold it to a new owner, and when he and his wife moved in, I was given a 1-month eviction order. But just a few days later, they came to my door at 5 p.m., demanding an immediate cash payment, and this was the very first time I'd ever met them. I'd emailed them to ask them about signing a short-term agreement for rent and terms because, we had been evicted. We didn't want to leave. That was our home, but we were given a month to get out. And so I said to them in email, I said, "We need to have an arrangement. There needs to be some kind of arrangement. No one is allowed, it's not even legal to pay rent to someone with no agreement with them." And since we had no agreement, I said, "We need to set up an agreement," and they wouldn't respond to my email, or they'd respond and ignore that. The Residential Tenancy Act of BC states that no tenant should ever pay any rent unless an agreement has been signed, and they refused to discuss it, or meet with me, or speak on the phone. And keep in mind, no rent was currently due, and I owed them nothing. Even if rent had been due that day, it was still well before the deadline when they came to the door. They simply didn't want to wait the legal 1-month eviction period to get us out. And I knew my rights under the Tenancy Act, and I stood up for them. And I suggest anyone who rents know your tenancy laws, because this could happen to you as well. And they threatened me, both physically and in other ways. They said, well, a lot of things at the door. And when that didn't work, I stood my ground, I remained calm, and they illegally evicted me right there on the spot. And we had an hour to leave the home that we'd been in for 3 or more years, and without a well-rehearsed bug-out plan, it wouldn't have been able to happen. But in 20-degree below zero conditions, we bugged out of town to a family member's house. At the time they knocked on the door, I was actually in the midst of recording a video for you on this channel, and I left the camera running. It did catch the entire exchange, every single word, and I'm going to give you a small sample of some of what was said, and I will blur it to protect privacy, and a little bit of the audio is blanked out to remove people's names.
This is when we bought the property, we were told we had to give you so many days notice, and he said that you paid rent for last month to him. Do I have to go through the lawyers for this?
I guess.
Because I now own it. You've paid me February. Do you get that? You don't want to fuck with my family, let me put it that way. And if you're trying to stiff me for February's rent...
There's no reason for threatening, really.
You're acting stupid, and you're not stupid. You're
I'm not acting stupid. I didn't say it means that I would live here free. But I would have to have a tenancy agreement with someone to pay rent. I've emailed you about this.
Listen, you don't want to go down this road, and you're messing with the wrong people here. You really are.
I'm not asking to mess with you.
You're not going to live here rent-free. You're not going to live here rent-free.
I don't intend to live here rent-free.
I can still come after you legally. Do you not get that? You can't, just because it's not
Well,
anywhere.
maybe that's the best way to do it. I don't know. Standing here yelling at me that's not the best way to do it. If you
Oh, I got ways of doing it. I'm
mean?
nobody's fool.
What do you mean?
Oh, you'll find out.
What does that mean?
You'll find out. You do not want to mess with me. You
I
pay
don't know what you mean by
February's
that,
rent.
so
You pay February's rent.
Yeah.
You heard that? I know.
Oh,
I know.
hey, mister.
All right.
I just got your email.
No, just,
What's this tenancy agreement?
oh, sorry. Pardon me? Pardon me?
What's this tenancy agreement that you said to me
Yes.
on the 30th of January? What's this you're talking about? Listen, man, you are staying here, you pay rent. I need it now. When are you going to get this rent to us?
When I owe you rent.
You owe me rent
owe me
now.
For February, and legally you are on the hook.
Well, to do it legally then. I don't see why you're yelling at me here.
Oh, don't you?
Oh, don't you?
This is nothing, babe. This is nothing. I know.
You think you're going to stay in my property and not pay any rent or anything?
No, I'm leaving.
You're leaving, you'll be leaving now,
You can leave
or
right
you'll be
now.
paying rent.
There you go. Leave right now.
That's not how it works.
Oh,
legally.
that's you. Who made you? Who made you king of the world?
I don't know what you're talking about, King of the World.
Listen, man,
Can you
you
leave?
pay the rent, or you leave now.
I'm calling the police if you
Go ahead.
leave.
Well, you go right
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go right ahead.
We know them.
Don't worry about that. Go ahead.
So you're in here threatening me. Well, I have a piece of paper that says I've been evicted.
No, it's not.
First.
No, you're not evicted.
Well, could you get me the piece of paper, please?
You have been asked to leave because
Because it's a change of ownership.
you
Right.
never had an agreement with us.
That's right. So I don't understand how I owe anything if I don't have any agreement with you.
Because you're living
Because
here.
you're living on our property.
You're on my property. Okay, you're on my property. I can tell you to get off my property. You're trespassing on my property. This is my house.
Can I have a look at that, please,
Actually,
love?
not how it works. Okay.
Oh, it sounds like you've done this before. So how many people have you stiffed for rent?
We don't get into
This is
that.
my
He's
first
gonna-
time renting. Thank you. Notice to end tenancy.
Do you not realize
It's
the
not an eviction.
repercussions for both of you? Do you not realize?
It's not, you've not been
I mean, your
evicted.
credit
It's
rate,
an
I
end
mean,
of a
everything on
tenancy.
this.
You own the money
Oh,
to the...
mean everything you've got. Do you not realize that the ripple effect this will have on both of us? So we don't have an agreement. You're here illegally, technically, unless you pay us rent.
Then I go to the court tomorrow and start the eviction.
I think
Okay? You're telling me you're not
Things
going to
change.
pay rent, is that right?
No,
Is that right?
I'm telling you I'll pay you rent if I owe you rent.
You
owe
owe
us
rent?
rent.
But I need to have proof of that.
You're in my
You
property.
idiot. You just
Forget about that.
Stupid.
You're on my property.
Excuse me, I'm just trying to protect my rights here, and I know what they are.
Oh yeah, living
So-
off the backs of me?
No, I have no intention.
That's not
to
getting
live-
us nowhere.
I don't want to fight with you.
Listen.
Yes.
I don't want to fight with you.
Every day.
You're going to pay rent or you're going to have to leave.
Don't
Are you
stick me.
threatening me?
What did
No.
she say?
She said she's gonna get me.
I didn't say I was going to get you. I'll
say
get
you'll
my
get me
money.
every day.
I'll get my money. My rent. That's what I said.
Okay, well that's why I wanted to clarify if you're
Oh,
threatening
did you?
me.
Oh, did you? You guys are really quick. Yeah.
You are trespassing on my property.
We have to have an agreement. There is no rent due
No,
without an agreement.
okay,
Where's
no.
your-
Without an agreement, you're trespassing.
Where?
There's an email that's been sent, and you might want to read that.
Okay.
You're
Well-
just being
Yeah.
I'm not being an
Yes.
ass.
Yeah, I know.
Listen.
This is how it's done. I'm sorry.
Oh, this
Well,
is how
I'm
it's done
telling you
when
how
we
it's
try to
done.
live free off something
I
else.
need the rent for this property
Yes,
for this
I
month.
heard you say that.
Okay. So you're going to pay it or you're not?
I'll pay it if it's due. What do you
Oh
mean?
yeah, I can go
Leave
after
it
him.
there.
Oh yeah, I can do it that way. Don't worry.
But I will go watching you, and I want that money as soon as you get it.
You're messing with the wrong
And
people.
that's
Interesting people. It's okay. They're gone. He's not going to touch us. Don't worry.
Over the next few days, I was able to return to move out most of my other belongings into a local storage unit. The man followed me in his vehicle on one of the trips, always staying a block back, and he was pretty good at tailing me, but I was pretty good at noticing that he was tailing me. And I pulled into a parking lot, and he parked nearby, thinking that I didn't see him still, and he sat there watching me. And this is an older man, older than me, but a big man, and I could tell he knew what he was doing. When he had confronted me in the doorway, I knew that he could hurt me, and his behavior told me that he wanted to do so. And I called the cops right then and there, and they arrived, and he took off immediately. The young officer took his info from me and was actually quite helpful, and I have to say there are good cops out there. He was very shocked to find that the man had absolutely no record. He couldn't find anything about him, not in the system, not in the computer databases, not online, nothing. He just doesn't exist. I mean, he has a name and that's it. He said, "I've never ever seen this. I don't know what's going on." So he accompanied me back to the house, and he went up and spoke with the guy. And when he returned, he told me, "I recommend you just stay away from him. He's ex-military and his son's in law enforcement. So just get the last of your belongings and don't look back." And that's how I lost my home. A few months later, after spending most of my stack on relocation and lost income, I had a new basement suite where I'm at now. I began a new garden, my activism continued, and I started to get on my feet. I then noticed an unmarked cop car parked at the exit from this new neighborhood, always with an officer viewing vehicles coming and going. One day the lights came on, and he chased me down. He took me out of the vehicle and said, "Your tires are running low on tread." And indeed they were. I told him I'd immediately purchase and install new ones. In fact, I had been saving up to do so. He said, instead of giving me a $500 ticket, all I had to do was bring the vehicle in for a full police inspection, costing $200. I was actually happy about that because I thought he was saving me money, and I shook his hand. I thanked him, and I was happy to save that $300. I spent most of the rest of my silver on new tires and several other minor repairs to have it ready for inspection. Just before taking it in, I spoke to a friend who'd been through something similar. "It's a trick," he told me. "That's how they get vehicles off the road now. A car fresh off the assembly line often doesn't even pass that test. You lost your ride, dude." And so I sold the perfectly sound and safe vehicle to a scrap metal buyer for pennies on the dollar. Now, who really knows why I suddenly got my place and belongings raided by the cops, why they took my home, why they took my transportation, all within a few months. Coincidences do happen, of course they do. But You have to be a pretty hardcore coincidence theorist not to at least wonder. And I'm not even going to go into 2013. Just please understand that whether those costs were paid because I'm outspoken about the corrupt establishment or simply because I've hit a couple years of intensely bad luck, they were paid. I hope you now can understand why I say I've got nothing, and why I say that I am so vulnerable. Something has to change. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let my actions speak for themselves. I was invited out for dinner downtown the other night with my friend Dan, Mike Maloney, David Morgan, and Gatta. What an honor to share a table with them that would have been. I had to turn it down because I couldn't spare the $100 or so that it would have cost me. I won't give exact details about what precisely has prompted this decision to close up my channel. I woke up early this morning and it was just in my head, and I sat down with these pieces of paper in front of me and wrote 15 pages out, just like that. Made the decision right then and there. Understand that it costs to do what I do, both in dollars and in other costs, and that the system has said, give us lots and lots of dollars, or you are going to lose your relationship with your kids. I haven't told you this before, or very many people at all, but I haven't seen them now in months. I think about them every hour of every day. They are why I do what I do, and I'm an incredible dad. They adore and respect me, and I'm prouder than I ever thought possible. But the status quo allows my ex to keep them from me, and she's choosing to do so, to hurt me, and it's working. And so I'm manning up, making the only change I can see as possible, and going back into the matrix to save them. Nothing comes before my convictions and integrity in doing what I can do to change this miserable system, except my relationship with those two young people. They are worth anything and everything to me. So please entertain no outrageous conspiracy theories about this. It is just me. I wasn't turned. I didn't get paid off. I haven't even been contacted by anyone official or whatever in the entire time that I have been doing the Drutter channel. Nothing. It really just is as simple as me needing to come up with lots and lots of these. And I know there's no way to do that here. Not without compromising my integrity, which I'll never do. This is a very tough choice for me to make. But since it is the only option, I'm at peace with it. And before any of you hearing me start thinking you'll offer me some cash, please stop yourself there. I won't take it. Besides, it wouldn't be enough to change the outcome. I live or die by my choices, and I accept responsibility for my own actions. I'm lowering my vulnerability by shutting my mouth, and I'm going to feed the beast and race with the rats so I can grab some fiat units. Maybe in a few years I'll be able to return and continue this. I have little doubt that there'll still be plenty to do then. And this won't be the last video either. It'll take at least a couple more to tie up all my loose ends, and I'm not going to delete anything at all. I'm going to keep managing the channel so it at least stays open, and I will answer private messages until they take those away too. I just can't fight this battle anymore. I want to, but I can't, and I hope you now understand why. If someone does have a job offer or other ideas for me, I'm absolutely listening, but please know that I can't be bought. I won't change my message, and I will never be owned. I'm not proud. I don't feel like I'm above any kind of work, even scrubbing toilets if I have to. But I would prefer to put my skills and expertise to use in something relevant. I have a few messages for the revolution, and yes, there is revolution underway now. It just isn't being televised. And they are: 1. Keep it peaceful at all costs, unless there comes a time when there's no alternative to secure liberty for the people. 2. Don't give up. I'm not giving up. I just have to make this change. We lost half of YouTube due to Google+. The site is almost not even here anymore except for watching videos, unless you have Google+. Just a few months ago, and we have managed to mostly overcome that. It ain't over till it's over. Myself, I know that this is something I'm good at, something that's made me stronger. I've got scars on top of my scars now. This has forged me into someone powerful and dangerous to tyranny. I will keep fighting in my way, just not with my voice, and not here with you. And lastly, there has to be a way for activists to somehow get their costs paid. I know so many people who are doing some of the most important work that is out there to do, in my opinion, which is protecting the liberty of the people, because without that we have nothing. And these people are flipping burgers 10 hours a day so that they can do what they do in their spare time. These people have the talent to do so much more, but no one has a cent to give them. Not a friggin' cent. These people are flipping burgers literally so that they can do what they do for everyone else. And you know what? They're not only not paid for their talents in most cases, not paid for their time, not paid for their expertise and everything that they've put into it. They aren't paid 1 cent. And not only that, their costs aren't even covered. They're having to pay for their costs themselves. To help others, they are having to pay to do so. And then, not only that, but they're mocked and told, get a real job. Fighting for liberty isn't a real job. Why aren't you getting money? Why aren't you chasing those dollars? Why aren't you paying more taxes? Why aren't you being a good person? That has to change. And no, I'm not necessarily just talking about myself. There's a lot of people I know that are in that boat. A lot of people who could do so much more, who are doing so much, who are putting everything they have into this, and putting everything they have into you and everyone else that's out there. Your children, your grandchildren, your parents. They are fighting for us all, and they are doing some of the biggest work there is to do. And we tell them to get a real job. That has to change. My name is Darren Rutter. I came up against a corrupt, immoral, unjust system of debt slavery, and I failed. I am sorry to all those that this impacts negatively. To those pleased by this, have your momentary laugh. I'll talk to you all again.